And now to South America, where tensions between the United States and Venezuela are escalating. Hours after President Donald Trump claimed the U.S. had hit what he called a Venezuelan drug vessel, the country's president, Nicolas Maduro, said that imperialism is launching a new attack. Without directly mentioning the United States, Maduro declared that Venezuela would stand in peace and sovereignty against what he called imperialist threats.
No es la primera ni la última.
Today, the imperialism is launching a new attack. It is not the first, nor will it be the last. It is just another attack, and Venezuela stands firm, and I say to you, Venezuela will continue standing with serenity, firmly, and strong faith in victory and in peace.
Now, these comments came after President Trump confirmed that American forces had destroyed a Venezuelan speedboat in the Caribbean, killing 11 people on board. Trump released a video of the operation on Truth Social and claimed the vessel belonged to the Tren de Aragua cartel, which Washington has officially designated a terrorist organization and claims that it's backed by the Venezuelan president. In Caracas, the reaction to the attack was one of outrage. Venezuelan Interior Minister accused the United States of committing extrajudicial killings, claiming that 11 lives had been taken without due process.
Supongamos. Era droga.
What the United States presented as a strike against drug traffickers was nothing more than an illegal massacre in international waters. They violated international law, they violated their own laws, and worst of all, they violated a basic human principle, the right to life. This wasn't justice, it was barbarism, an imperial act meant to show force. But it only exposes, once again, the double standards of the Washington administration. They talk about democracy and human rights while carrying out summary executions at sea. If you're not guilty, you have nothing to fear. Here in Venezuela, we can speak openly about this because we are not accomplices to drug trafficking or executions in open waters. We do fight drug trafficking, no matter where it comes from.
El que no la debe, no la teme.
A Venezuelan opposition figure also expressed concern, casting doubt on the U.S. narrative, questioning how Washington knew the identities of those killed and demanding greater transparency from both governments.
El poder aquí en Venezuela dice.
How do we know there were 11 people? Did they count them on the boat? How do we know they were Venezuelan? Did their ID cards float to the surface afterward?
Maduro dice que fue inteligencia artificial.
Meanwhile, President Trump on Wednesday justified the military strike and said it was a necessary effort by the U.S. to send an unmistakable message to Latin American cartels. He went on to add that the operation would cause drug smugglers to think twice about trying to move drugs into the United States.
On the boat, you had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit. Obviously, they won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape.
Now, the Pentagon has not disclosed how the strike was carried out, whether by drone, torpedo, or another method, and has avoided providing details of the legal authority that allowed for such an operation. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Venezuela was being run by a narco state and emphasized that the 11 deaths sent a direct signal to traffickers that the United States would no longer tolerate their operations in the hemisphere. He also added that U.S. naval and air assets would continue to target suspected cartels, but declined to provide further operational details, saying they remain classified.
You want to try to traffic drugs? It's a new day. It's a different day. And so those 11 drug traffickers are no longer with us, sending a very clear signal that this is an activity the United States is not going to tolerate in our hemisphere.
And Secretary of State Marco Rubio also defended the operation, saying that military operations against cartels would in fact continue.
We'll stop them is when you blow them up, when you get rid of them. So they were designated as what they are narco-terrorist organizations. So the same information and the same intelligence mechanisms with maybe a higher focus was used to determine that a drug boat was headed towards eventually the United States. And instead of interdicting it on the president's orders, he blew it up. And it'll happen again.
Venezuelan officials have said that the Caribbean buildup is meant to justify an intervention against them, with President Nicolas Maduro accusing Donald Trump of seeking regime change.
Cientos misiles y un submarino nuclear.
On a human level, if you asked Nico, that is, me, what message I would send to Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States, I would say, seek peace. In us, you will always find a friendly hand for peace, for development, for independence, for dignity, and with respect. The pursuit of regime change is exhausted and has failed as a policy worldwide.
Absolutamente criminal.
Now, Venezuelan officials say the Tren de Aragua cartel is no longer active after being dismantled during a prison raid in 2023, and suggested that the video shared by President Trump was created using artificial intelligence. The operation, however, comes as U.S. naval forces expand their presence off Venezuela, with 8 Navy ships deployed in the Caribbean and the Pacific as part of counter-narcotics missions. Now, with 11 people dead and both sides trading accusations of aggression and deceit, the strike has pushed relations between Washington and Caracas into uncharted waters. Whether this was an isolated act of force or the start of a much larger confrontation, however, remains to be seen.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakaljo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.